Hey, hello, and a warm welcome to the UCD Quinn School of Business to our virtual open evening 2021. We're delighted that so many of you have chosen to join us this evening. And this is our last session this evening, and it really is a catch-them-all wrap-up session. If you haven't had the opportunity to ask any questions, now is the time to do so. So my name is Aoife Doherty, and I am the director of the Quinn School offices, and I'm joined this evening by a panel of staff and students from the School of Business and from further afield across UCD. So I'm going to introduce you to the panel. As always, if you have any questions, please pop them up in the Q&A section. We'll keep an eye and we'll get to them. And we have around 30-40 minutes or so to go through any burning issues that you may have at this point in time or anything we can help you with. So joining me on the session this evening are colleagues from the Quinn School of Business, our program managers, Margaret Marr. Margaret looks after the Economics and Finance program and Business and Law, so works in the School of Business and also in the School of Law. Niall looks after our biggest and oldest program, the Bachelor of Commerce, which has been with us since 1908, and we have 950 students or so on the BCom program. And also joining us this evening is Laura Borghette, and Laura manages the Commerce International Program, which is our business and languages opportunity. And from that program, we are joined by Daria Bajenova, who is a fourth-year Commerce International student. And Daria has returned from a year-long exchange actually in Paris. So Daria might be able to tell us a little bit more about that. And we're also joined by Roisin Goyet-Nicholson from our Access area in UCD. So we're delighted to have you all here this evening. And thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. And the same to our participants. So I'm just going to take us off stop share and bring us back to the panel view so we can all see each other and get ready for a couple of questions. I know that we had a lot of active questions in our previous session, so now is our opportunity to wrap up anything that we haven't had a chance to discuss before. But I think seeing as we're joined by Roisin, is Roisin still with us?
Yeah.
Yes, there you are, Roisin. Sorry. Roisin, we might go to you first of all and ask you to tell us a little bit about what Access is in UCD and how it's relevant for fifth year and sixth year students who are joining us this evening.
Yeah, so I work in a unit called UCD Access and Lifelong Learning. So we work for lots of different things. My role is mainly to kind of go and talk to students who are interested in coming to UCD and about all the different pathways, because I suppose the CAO is the one we all think about quite a lot, but there's a lot of different ways to come into UCD. So specifically for kind of fifth and sixth years, the main kind of routes that I can talk to you about is the HERE pathway, which is the higher education access route. So you would apply through the CAO, but you also can apply to be kind of given special consideration if you come from, say, a disadvantaged area or something like that. And then you can compete for a certain number of lower points places. And then you also get other supports as well when you come into us. So that's the higher education access route. And then there's also the DARE route, which is the disability access route. And that's for students who have had a disability that has impacted on their studies in some way, shape or form. And we kind of recognize that and try to level the playing field for them. So if you're eligible for DARE, you'll also be able to compete for some lower points places on the CAO. And then there's other disability supports that you will get when you join us in UCD. And then there's a few of others. There's other kind of entry routes that I can talk to you about. So there's open learning, which is a really interesting one, and QQI route. But the main one, I suppose, for anyone on this call would be the HERE and the DARE pathways.
Super. Thanks so much, Roisin. We might get back to the QQI route and the open learning route because they're always of particular interest for students on the Bachelor of Commerce program. But thank you so much. Can I just check in with you? Could you remind students how they access or how they avail of the HERE and the DARE routes through the CAO?
Yeah, so students will have to apply to the CAO anyway. You have to create your own application, list your courses, all of that kind of stuff. And then you also have to complete an online application form. So for HERE or for DARE. And that has to be done online by the 1st of March. And then you'll have to submit supporting documentation. So for either of those pathways, if it's HERE, you'll have to submit an amount of financial documentation because there's an income limit for HERE. And then if it's a DARE, if you're making a DARE application, you have to submit evidence of your disability and then a statement from your school. So those kind of pieces of supporting documentation need to be sent to the CAO by the 15th of March. So that will open then with the CAO in November, and you have a couple of months to complete those applications.
Super. And can I just check with you, Roshan, is that the same for mature applicants? Because we have had a query in the past about mature learners, how they can join the program.
Yes, you will apply through the CAO as well. Mature applicants don't have here or there. That's only for people who are leaving school. Mature applicants, you apply as normal through the CAO. You don't use your CAO points. You'll have to use the MSAP, which is a mature, I can't remember what it stands for, but it's
no, we don't
not
actually
business.
Use the MSAP.
Sorry,
it's not for business.
Don't. Yeah. Sorry about that. But yeah, so mature students will also have to apply through the CAO, and there'll be a different process then. But you won't apply for here or there.
Super. And I think one of the important points is to say that we welcome students from all different routes across the university. We want as much diversity as possible in our programs and throughout the school. So I'm just looking at some of the questions that have come in, and we have one question straight off, and that is about accounting. So if I want to work in accounting, which course is better for me? So that's generally students asking is, can I follow accounting if I do Commerce International or Economics and Finance, or is the BCom the best for me? So Niall, I think I might get you to comment on that. Which program do you reckon is the best if a student is interested in a career in accounting?
Well, I suppose for commerce is probably the most straightforward one, in that you, in first and second year, you do financial accounting 1, 2, and management accounting. And they're three, and business law as well. There are 4 core modules that you have to complete for CAP exemptions. And then in final year, once you've completed those 4 modules, you can then choose, I think it's 4 other modules from 6 accounting modules in total for final year. So it's a really straightforward progression route for the CAP exemptions. You can also do it through business and law and business international, but it's and I think economics and finance, but Margaret might correct me on that if I'm wrong. But it's a little more, it's because you're competing with other modules in terms of law, and your language modules, the timetable mightn't be set up in a way isn't as straightforward. So it's not always possible to choose those modules that you need to take things like financial accounting too. I think you have to take that as an option in 1 or 2 of the programs. And yeah, so it can be a little bit more tricky doing it that way.
So the clear pathway is through the Bachelor of Commerce program.
Yeah.
So what we generally advise students, if you are interested in accounting, the BCom is best. If you have a broad business background and you're not quite sure what area you're interested in, Commerce International, combining business and a language, or business and law is probably a good route to go down. I might just turn to Daria, because Daria is our student who's in 4th year Commerce International. Daria, would you agree with that is it best to follow a particular route, a particular business interest into BCom, and keep it broad based for Commerce International with the language?
Really depends on, I think, like all the business routes in Quinn School of Business are pretty flexible. You can always like specialize at the end, picking more modules that you're interested in at the end of in final year. But in the first few years, the modules you cannot really decide are not as flexible as in final year. So you can kind of have a broad understanding of every subject. But if you want to specialize in something, you always have the elective that you can do an elective, for example, in accounting, or like other subjects, marketing, or if you have interested in human resource management. And then in final year, I have more choice. So if you're really interested in something, you can specialize in that particular area you're interested in.
Super. Thanks, Daria. So it is flexible.
I reply to the question. I hope it's
no, you did.
You could ask you more questions if you.
No, listen, thank you for that, Daria. There is another one that I have just seen come in here, and it's, can students get an internship in the Commerce International degree? And if so, is it paid? And that's an interesting question, because we were just talking with Daria about her experience on internship. And in the Quinn School of Business, programs that have a 1-year internship are the Bachelor of Commerce and the Economics and Finance program. So they're 3-year degrees with the option to add a 1-year internship. Because the Commerce International is a 4-year degree program, we don't have that same level of latitude. But what we have just introduced is a summer internship option. So students can take a summer internship and then use that work experience for credit in the autumn trimester. And Dari, you were just mentioning that you did that. You took 2 internships throughout your program in Quinn.
Yeah, it was just my own choice. Also because of the pandemic, during the actual like 3rd year, I didn't have many hours, so I did an internship along my studies. But that's just a once-off, because hopefully it will never happen again. But during the summer, last summer, yes, I did an internship. Like that's what like many students in commerce and Commerce International do, since we do not have an internship during our 3rd year because we are abroad studying our language and improving our language. We can do a summer internship, and I decided to stay in Paris since I was already there and do an internship in France in a French company.
Excellent. And some people choose to come home as well and take an internship in some of the bigger professional services firms, or in accounting or marketing or finance, wherever it might be. So it is super flexible, and there's plenty of time during the summer, because the academic year where you were, Daria, ended earlier than we would normally end in Ireland, and particularly in UCD. We normally end our academic year in May, but globally some will end in April, some will end in June or July. And I think you were mentioning that in Paris you finished slightly earlier, which gave you a longer summer to work on your internship.
1st of April, all assignments were done, exams done, so very long summer. That's why my decision on staying longer and take an internship.
And making the most of that opportunity in Paris, which sounds fantastic, and we're all very jealous. Absolutely. We have a question here asking about transferring programs. So Margaret, can I ask you to talk about that a little bit? A student is asking, is it possible to transfer programs, or what is the process or the protocol around that?
Mm-hmm. There's a process in place for transferring programs, but it is depending on what stage you're at. It is dependent on the program you're coming from and going to. Say, for instance, in 1st year, if you're looking to transfer in from one program to another after trimester 1, in trimester 2 of stage 1, you need to have the points of the rising class. You need to have completed 20 credits. Now, 20 credits is actually each subject that you study has 5 credits. That's 4 modules. And you also need to have, you need to be able to complete 50 credits by the end of the year, but there also needs to be places available, and it is dependent on the quality of the applicants. And because the programs within the Quinn School of Business are so popular, the attrition rate is very low. So it's not something that I would bank on at all, really, to be honest with you. It's quite a small number that managed to achieve that. So while the transfer processes are there within UCD, and we follow those guidelines within the business school, there are quite few places every year in that.
It can be a challenge to transfer programs, absolutely. So that's why events like this are important, to get to ask your questions, have a think, talk to students, get as much information as you possibly can before you make this decision. And we do see students who want to change program midway through or after the 1st year, and that is normal. There is nothing, unusual about that. It just means it becomes a little bit more complex, and you need a little bit more help and support to get to where you need to be. But Roisin, in reference to getting to where you need to be, you mentioned some alternative routes, and I think that's something that students always have an interest in. We know that the points have been particularly high for the last 2 years. For the BCom, it was 555, going down to 554 this year. The same for Commerce International. Economics and Finance was 625, and Business and Law was 573. So these are challenging and competitive to get into, and students are always interested in any other alternatives or opportunities to join programs. So could you tell us a little bit about those from your perspective and access?
Yeah, so I suppose the 2 main ones that would spring to mind would be the QQI route. So that's for students, if you finish your leaving cert and you're not sure, or even if you're maybe a mature student, you're over 23 and you're considering going back, you might want to go and do a QQI course. So that would be a course in a further ed college. So for example, Blackrock College Further Education. And it could be anything. It could be pre-university art, it could be business administration, it could be lots of different things. And if you do that course, leading to a QQI level 5 or level 6, and if you get a distinction in, I think it is 5 of your modules, then you can progress to a QQI course. Now, the places still are limited, so it can be quite competitive, but that's one option, especially if you're not sure if you want to try it out. Another really interesting one is open learning. So that's I think is really, it's really like, I suppose, a gem of a course. It's a really interesting thing that people don't know about and don't use that much. So open learning basically means you can take any module across, well, most modules, about 300 modules across the university in loads of different disciplines. And you don't have to be, there's no qualifications for them. You have to be over the age 17, and that's basically it. You can kind of take them no matter what. And then if you do 6 of those modules, it leads to a range of different programs. And one of them is the BCom. So it's an alternative way in, and it gives you a chance as well maybe to try out a course and see if you're interested in that area before you kind of commit to anything. So I think that's a really interesting one that a lot of people don't necessarily think about all the time.
Thanks, Roisin. And it's actually brand new to us this year. We've just introduced it for September 2021. So students will take 6 of the modules that they would take in first year of the BCom. They take that over 2 trimesters. So 3 in one trimester and 3 in the other. And if they achieve a GPA of 3.08, which is Niall, Margaret, and Laura, and Daria can correct me, 3.08 is roughly a C grade, I think, a C, C+.
Little bit higher, yeah.
A B grade.
Yeah,
so around that level,
C+, yeah.
Then you're eligible to progress or apply to progress to join the Bachelor of Commerce program. Then you're in the good position where you're coming into first year of the Bachelor of Commerce and you only have 6 modules to do in your first year. So it will lengthen your degree to 4 years, but it does give you that flexibility to try something without committing to a full degree. And we're hopefully we'll see a lot of interest in it and uptake in the coming years. And this has been available, Roisin, and a number of other programs across UCD for a few years. So we are now joining in. And can I just get back to the QQI? So which route do students apply if they do the QQI, the certificate in business, or whatever it might be? How do they apply to enter the programs in UCD?
So if you do a QQI course, whether it is certificate in business or something like that, and you get your results kind of in May, June, you'll have to apply to the CAO. So you have to do another CAO application. So that means you need to be kind of starting to think about that from November. You need to have applied by the 1st of February. And then you kind of put down your choices and stuff like that. But you'll send through your QQI results instead of your Leaving Cert results and come through on those results. And you'll get the offer a little bit earlier. I remember, I think it's usually around the start of August, you'll be offered a QQI place if there's one available.
Super. Thanks so much, Roisin. I can see some questions coming in about careers and what areas have a high number of careers. So Niall or Lara, would you be interested in talking about that? Careers?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, look, I mean, all the business programs are, the graduates all go on and have most of them very successful careers in whatever area that they decide on. So, I mean, if you're interested in accountancy, obviously a lot of students go down that route. There's marketing. There is areas like people go on to work for NGOs and work within many different business industries, including banking and finance. So it is, I mean, depending on your interests, there are plenty of areas to go into. Probably the great thing about both the summer internship and then the internship program that's offered in BCom, the economics and finance, is that it gives you the opportunity to experience for a year, 9 months to a year, the areas that you might be interested in. So we've companies from the central bank, students have worked with them, students have worked with the Big Four, gone into marketing companies. Microsoft is another company, little. So there's whole massive areas that you can go into. The internship as well, because you have to go through the whole application process and then the interview process. So there's the whole side of that as well, which is a really good experience for students just to go through in itself. And then obviously you get the benefit of the internship. Other things that we do is the mentorship program, which is a great opportunity for students that was introduced recently in the last few years, and it's growing every year. So it's an opportunity where we match students with a mentor from an area that they are interested in. So again, that could be someone who's developed their career in marketing, or someone who's gone down entrepreneurial route, someone within accountancy. So it's really broad. It's the students do it in second year. So it's a kind of a crucial time for students when they are beginning to decide what areas in business that they're really, really interested in. So it's another great opportunity that's been afforded to students in recent years. And then within that, you also have the UCD Careers Network as well, who they do lots of stuff as well, from CV workshops to career advice. And they're there, and we've a person specifically from that area who students can contact and liaise with. And within commerce itself, there are also two modules, one in first year and one in final year, that kind of help you to think and develop your ideas around careers. So you have effective learning and development in first year, which is kind of helping you to develop your skills and how you your critical thinking skills and your personal skills as well, and how you apply them to college learning, because obviously it's very different to leaving cert. And then built onto that is personal development portfolio, which students do in final year, and that builds on what you've done in first year, but also has career focus, and you're looking at developing your CV and your personal skills there as well.
Super. Thanks, Niall. That is a good run through the opportunities in Quinn. I think it's broader than just the BCom. But getting back to the questions that are popping up, and I see one, do people get offered jobs from the internship program in third year? And I think we would say yes. Some students come back from the internship year on the Economics and Finance program or on the Bachelor of Commerce program, having secured a graduate placement. So that adds a bit of stability to your final year. If you're happy with your offer and you want to continue in that area, it is a great opportunity. Some students take the opportunity of the internship year to try out something, and it may confirm that they're interested in this particular area, or it may persuade them to look elsewhere, which is the great thing about the internship. It is a learning opportunity. I think we've seen students before, Margaret, from Economics and Finance, work in some accounting firms and coming back and saying, I can confirm now this is not for me. I know that I'm interested in finance. So it is a very good and very valid learning experience. And speaking about the learning experience, and Daria, I might ask you to comment on this one. We have a question from somebody asking, what is the learning environment like in Quinn? And your experience is not just in Quinn, but it's also in the School of Languages, Cultures and Literatures as well. So would you be able to tell us a little bit about that, how it works, lectures, tutorials, class sizes?
Yeah, usually for each module there is a lecture, and then there's tutorials. That's how you do your days schedule. You would have lectures and tutorials. Some modules would not have tutorials. Tutorials are classes with 10 to 20 people max. So it's a time where you would probably ask questions to professors, teachers, and it's where you interact more. Lectures are bigger classes, up to sometimes 300 people, like in the PwC theater, and it's just listening and looking at watching the slides and trying to understand the main topics of the modules. And then in the tutorial you would be more analyzing in deep or doing exercises with your class, and that would be the same thing for languages. Except final year you don't have any lectures anymore for your language. It's just small groups, conversation groups, where you can actually talk more and practice your French, and both written and oral.
There's a combination of large lecture theatres supported by small tutorials, and then over in the arts area and languages, it's smaller groups again.
Yeah.
So there's a range of different experiences. I think that's probably the way to summarize it, that there's lots of different, there's big lectures with 320, there's smaller lectures with 100, and smaller class sizes with everything from 10 up to 50. But I think, Roisin, that's a good opportunity maybe to ask about access and the learning environment, and what access do you to support students in the learning environment?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that we could do, and it depends on the needs of each student. So for instance, if any student is coming in with a disability, they'll meet with somebody from our disability support team, and they'll talk to them about specific needs that they have, and anything that they might need. But there's also other supports that we offer, especially say for mature students or students who are coming in through the HERE pathway, if they're a little bit uncomfortable or still trying to get to know the campus. So there could be things like workshops that we offer, usually every Wednesdays and stuff like that. So that could be things like library referencing, how to, get to know the campus and stuff like that. And we also offer a specific kind of welcome for students that are coming in So it's just before your program orientation, and any of our students that we work with will be invited to this welcome. And it just gives students a chance to get to know the campus and know what kind of is available for them. So it kind of depends on the student, but there's a huge range of different supports that are available. And students can always come into the Access and Lifelong Learning Centre if they're unsure about anything, and we'll guide them in the direction that they need.
Super. And I think you mentioned something important there, Roshan. You mentioned orientation, and I see we have a question here about how do students settle in first year. And Laura, I might bring you in here and ask you to say a little bit about orientation and peer mentoring and what the school does to help students settle in first year.
Yeah, so there are orientation events organized throughout the university, and the orientation, what it's going to give you is the flavor of what the program that you are enrolled in is going to be, what you expect in the next 3-4 years, what are you going to be learning, what are you going to be getting. You're going to be also assigned with a peer mentor, which is a student in second year who's going to show you around campus, who's going to give you all the knowledge, the inside knowledge that you need. There are loads of other events. The societies are there as well. There's like more than 70 societies, student societies in UCD. They're all there. You get to know as well the student union and what they do for the students, what supports are available. You get to know your program director, your program manager. You get to know the students that are with you. They're going to be like, the peer mentor groups are small, so you get to talk to people in smaller groups, so it doesn't feel like you're alone. And while you're there, you realize how everyone feels the same. It feels like a bit, it's a new place, it's a big place, and it can be a bit daunting, but there's loads of people around to support the students in first year. So there's a lot of activities as well, and there's loads of opportunities to engage in things that you have an interest. There's the sports, there's language, there's film societies, there's all sort of things that you can.
Super. Dari, have you any advice? Can you remember when you joined us in September, what it felt like to come into such a big environment? Any advice for incoming students?
It was actually very exciting. Of course, like, it's intense to like switch from secondary school to college life, but overall it was mostly positive. And you just have to understand that everyone is in the same boat. We're all like coming from school. No one is like, had never been, nobody has ever been to college yet. So we're all in the same boat, and they have the same feelings and sharing the same experiences. So the more you talk to people, try to socialize, to engage in societies, the better. But overall, UCD has many programs or like supports that can help you in any way.
That's a good point, actually, Darren. There is a big support team wrapping around students. So my colleagues here this evening are from the school office, which are kind of the first frontline support for any queries or questions that students have. Then we have a team of student advisors across the university who are there for any more pastoral care. We have the peer mentors, we have alumni mentors to help with career questions as well. The career network, we have a team of counsellors in UCD. So there are a lot of supports and services available to students if you run into any difficulties. On the academic front as well, we have a maths support centre. So anybody who has started the programme and feels that maths may not be their favourite subject, which would 100% be me, we have a maths support centre in UCD that works with students and helps and gives individual tuition and tutorials to help students through the challenges of quantitative subjects. So it may not just be maths, it might be finance, it might be accounting, anything that you have that is challenging on the quantitative front. So we have the Maths Support Centre. We also have the writing and the study centres. Roshan, you might know a little bit more about this, in the library. So they're there for all UCD students to use.
Yes, the writing support centre, and then the library does their own workshops as well.
Yeah, so there's lots of support and guidance to help students settle in. And I think we mentioned before in a previous session that the thing is just to get involved. As Dari has mentioned very wisely, everybody's in the same boat and nobody who's joining has been to university before. So there's a shared and common experience. So you're really not alone. But there are plenty of opportunities, Dari, for students to meet each other through the academic work. And I think group work is one of our big things in the Quinn School that we do. And it really gives you a solid way to meet people because you are working together through a problem or an assignment.
Absolutely. You in business in general, in commerce international, all courses in Queen School of Business, there are many projects, group projects, because this mirrors actually like what you're going to do after college. It's all teamwork. So there are many group projects, and especially in first year, they're not that hard. They're not that intense. For example, like for inside organizations, we have to make we made a video. I don't remember, but it was very actually fun. It was more fun than just academic work. So, and I got to know with the people that I'm still friends with now. So it's also a good opportunity during your lectures to socialize, and during the projection of like many projects that we have to do during our academic career.
So there's lots of opportunities to connect. I see a question has just come up in relation to the BCom and the Commerce International and asking about the structure of the programs. I think we had that before in a previous session. So Lara, would you be able to explain to potential students what the difference is between the BCom and the Commerce International?
Sure. So the BCom is a pure business program, and it's very broad. You can, you can get a lot of different modules related to business. The Commerce International is 2/3 business and 1/3 language, so language and culture. So the syllabus is not exactly the same. There's obviously modules that will be the same modules because you get the same fundamentals of business. For accounting, for finance, for human resources, etc. So the basics are covered in both of them, and you have the opportunity in your fourth year to expand more on whatever area you're more interested in. But it's not exactly the same syllabus. It's similar, but obviously because you have a major in business and a minor in languages, it is not exactly the same. You have less business modules, and you have 20% that it's going to be language modules.
But I think what we've done with the BCom International syllabus is that we've picked out the elements that are absolute and essential, the pillars of business. So in accounting and finance and marketing and HR. So you have coverage in all those different academic disciplines. I guess the difference is that in the BCom, you have more space to go in greater depth and pick more modules. So you're not lacking anything in the Commerce International degree. You have all the core foundations. And by final year, you do have a bit more latitude to pick modules in the area you're interested in, whether it's marketing or accounting or finance. Dari, is there anything else there we should mention about the difference between the Commerce and Commerce International?
No, I think it's just you get the same, pretty much like business based, and plus language, and you get to know the culture, and you spent a year abroad, like living and studying through a different language. So I think it's just a plus. I am biased, but this is my course, so.
Absolutely. I see another question here going in a totally different direction again. So the question is, do students start up their own businesses in Quinn? And I think from the program manager team, I think we can say, yes, we have seen students who've set up different enterprises and different companies, whether it is organizing events or selling. I think somebody is selling hoodies right now. So we have lots of small enterprises going on. There are modules throughout all the programs that deliver or focus on entrepreneurship. And I think in final year, there's a core entrepreneurship module. There are modules on social entrepreneurship as well. We have for the BComs and the economics and finance as part of the internship year, there is a business in society and an entrepreneurship internship on offer. And that gives students the opportunity on the entrepreneurship side to work with a startup company for a number of months. And we partner with Nova, which is the UCD Startup Foundation on the Belfield campus. And students will work with Nova for 3 months to understand the environment of startup, everything from finance to marketing. And then they will take 2 rotations working with 2 different startups, 3 months in each. So if you're interested in entrepreneurial in nature, that's definitely something that we point students in the direction of. And we have core faculty throughout the business school who teach entrepreneurial action, and they're always on hand to help if you have any questions. And I know in final year, Margaret, you might comment on this, I think there's a module, Entrepreneurship in Action, delivered by Orla Byrne, who's also the academic director for the business and law program. And I think Orla gets students to do projects, and we have a display downstairs in the atrium.
Yeah, that's right, every year for the students who take it up who are interested in entrepreneurship. But I would say that while entrepreneurship definitely is something that we would encourage in students, doing the basic principles of business, you need them regardless of where you're going. So that kind of feeds into it. So it's really around third and fourth year, or second and third year, depending on the program you're in, you can really see the students begin to shine. And every year, Orla, some of the projects they put up are absolutely amazing, you know, and you can see that they have the foundations of business there from the very beginning. So it really is, any of the business programs will enhance that. If you have it within you, I think most entrepreneurs are born entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we just help refine the thought
Yeah,
process, but you're right. If you
absolutely.
come with an entrepreneurial spirit, you know, we'll definitely be here to help you.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think Niall mentioned before is the mentoring program. And we have, because the programs have been around since 1908, we have a very, very large and active UCD business alumni. So the alumni come back and work with current students. And we have, of course, many entrepreneurs in our alumni group. So they come back and work with students. And I know recently we had a student who graduated who set up an e-scooters company. So yes, it is very much encouraged an entrepreneurial spirit throughout the Quinn School. Can I just ask about electives? I know that we mentioned it before. Margaret, would you talk a little bit about electives and how they work in the Quinn School?
Yeah. Every year, students can pick electives. And now, in first year, you've one elective module. Now, a module is 5 credits, one subject. And you can pick that in the second half of first year. Now, this is a module that you can either pick, they're called Horizon electives from throughout the university, and they can be in anything from music to drama to, you know, listen, there are hundreds and hundreds of modules. Now, they do have to fit with your timetable and do whatever. They have to you have to make sure that any prerequisites that they require, that you have them done. But generally speaking, there's a broad range of modules you can choose from. And then every subsequent year after first year, you've 2 that you can pick, generally 1 in each trimester, to balance your workload. And a lot of students would continue, they'd pick 1 in first year and build on it throughout the second and third year of the program. Or you can mix and match. Students do them in different ways. But we also, for those students who say, oh, there's not anything in particular I want to follow, we do have what we call option modules within the Quinn School that you can pick as your elective modules, and they'll enhance your degree. And there'll be various different modules that you'd be interested in, and we provide you a list of them every year, and the students really enjoy those as well.
So there's lots of opportunities to take modules outside your core area, either to supplement your learning or to go for something completely different. And so far this evening, we've heard students doing modules in cinema, in film theory, in music. So it can be completely diverse, or it can be in your core areas. The option is really up to you. Now, I can see we have a question which we will try our best to answer. And somebody's asking about the difference between UCD and Trinity. And this is always a tricky one. And I think there is no right answer that we can give. You need to do the research yourself. You need to ask the questions about the learning environment, about the opportunities within programs and on campus to figure out which is the course for you. We run a number of programs in the Quinn School of Business, as do Trinity in their School of Business. They are all excellent, excellent programs. But the challenge for you as the students are going to be filling out your CAO in January 2022 or January 2023 is to decide what resonates with you most. Is it the extracurricular opportunities? Is it the opportunity to study abroad? Is it the opportunity to work with entrepreneurs? What is it that's most important to you? And then you need to do the research and find it yourself in the program, because you're going to commit 3 to 4 years of study to this program. So it needs to be the one that works for you. So I think it would be unfair for me to sell Trinity over UCD. I will go full disclosure. I'm a Trinity graduate, so I always have a soft spot for Trinity, but I've worked in UCD for 14 years. So I'm obviously very committed to our work here in business. But I think it really is a personal question. And this is why it's important to attend these kind of activities, ask the questions, do the research, come on campus, have a little walk around and see, does it resonate with you? Would it be somewhere you'd be comfortable working and studying for 3 to 4 years? I'm not sure if there's anything further I can add on that front. Laura, Margaret, Niall, anything else? Daria, anything else? Because you obviously were a student in that boat who achieved, you know, very high points in your Leaving Cert. So you had a myriad of opportunities available. What drew you to UCD Business?
UCD Business because many actually global business courses, like I don't remember what school, like what colleges, but I remember like global business programs without the language. So you'd be studying global business, global like commerce, but not the language. I really wanted the language. I really wanted the year abroad. I really wanted that experience, like through that language, to have an understanding of business in French and English. So that's why
Absolutely.
I decided.
And I think that's really important, Daria, and that speaks to your personal preference. So there are global business courses out there without language, and they might be the thing you're looking for to have an understanding of how international supply chain works and how supply chains are affecting the level of goods and services you can get currently in Ireland. So, you know, that might be important. Or for you, Daria, it was the languages. So I guess the advice is do your homework, do your research, and do as much investigation as you possibly can before committing to your program. I see we have a question that's popped up a couple of times. I don't know if it's from the same person, and you're asking about management information systems and what it is and what careers it would lead to. So management information systems is one of 6 disciplines available in the Quinn School of Business. And what it essentially is the understanding of how technology can work and harness business. So if you think of how technology impacts business, it impacts in many different ways. You know, anybody who's been on Instagram or on Facebook or Snapchat, you will get ads coming through you the whole time, and that's based on your preferences. That is what management information systems does. It looks at how technology works with and serves business. So there's a multitude of areas that you could get involved in management information systems. There's the more philosophical side about knowledge and technology and how that works, or there's the more quantitative side, which can include everything from computer science to more systems-based analysis. So it's a very, very big area. Within it as well, you'll find, particularly in the Quinn School, we deliver modules on cryptocurrency and cybersecurity, which are areas that are very much of interest and relevant at this point in time. It's a very, very broad area, and I'm not sure I can do it justice in the 2 minutes that we have left, but I would encourage you, if you're interested, to take a look at the ucd.ie/Quinn School website, and you can dip into the management information systems area and take a look at all the research that's happening in that area. And you can also get an overview of the modules that are available, so that might help. So I think we are coming to the close. We have 2 minutes left at this point in time. I'm not sure if there's anything that we haven't covered, panelists. Is there anything that we need to flag now before we finish up? No?
Sorry, I might just come in. Sorry, I see there's a question there about scholarships.
Yes.
So I wouldn't be an expert on the ones that are specific to business, but UCD does have a number of different scholarships. So there's sports scholarships and after scholarships, but particularly for access, we have a couple of scholarships. So it's Cuthrum na Féine scholarships, which are funded by UCD alumni who donate back to us, and we kind of progress for any students coming through. So that could be if you come in through any of the pathways I mentioned before, which is QQI, here, DARE, and that's usually about 1,500 per year of study that's awarded to students. And then for other students, we've also had the 1916 bursary, which is for students who are on, say, the special rate of SUSI. So you get a little bit more money there. But just to flag those up, and they are for incoming students.
And we also have 2 further scholarships, 2 major scholarships, which extend to the degree, our EY and our KPMG scholarships, in partner with some of the professional services firms. And they're available to students when they join the program. And there's also prizes and scholarships every year for performance and programs, performance in different modules. So again, that information is up on the website if you want to take a look. But just as we close now, if we haven't had the chance to get to your question, please make sure you contact us on the website, or contact quinschool@ucd.ie. You'll get through to our marketing manager, David Kerskaden, who's here on this call today, and David will answer your question. We also have another event on the 13th of November, which is our UCD Open Day. So if you can, stop along there as well, and we will get to your questions at that point in time. So for now, all it remains for me to do is to thank everybody for sticking with this session. It is quite late. We're heading for 8 o'clock on week 7. I know that Daria has a lot of activity and work to do. So we'll say thank you very much for joining us, for staff and students, and to wish you all the very best of luck with your study ahead and the choices ahead. And hopefully we'll get to see you in the Quinn School of Business in September 2022. So thank you. Have a good night. Bye-bye.